Hey all, it's Krista Watson here from Krista Quilts, back with more fun designs from my book 99 Machine Quilting Designs. In this video, I'm going to share with you two fun wavy line designs that you can do with your free motion foot called rounded waves and organic cables. These are basically my modern version of some more traditional designs with a little bit more of an organic look to them. So sometimes I'm going to quilt wavy lines with my walking foot, and other times I'll quilt them free motion. Why the difference? If I'm quilting a line all the way across the quilt, I'll usually use free motion techniques. However, if I want to go back and forth and fill in a smaller area with wavy lines, free motion quilting is going to be a better bet. So really, if you know both techniques, you can decide which one you want to do on your quilt. Now what I'm going to do is sketch it out for you and then stitch it on a practice sample. So come join me for more fun. Rounded Waves is design number 38 from the book, and Organic Cables is design number 39. Both of these are quilted with free motion. So rounded waves are very similar to some of the other free motion wavy line designs that I've shown you, except for the ends are rounded. To me, it kind of looks like a snake or maybe like a deflated balloon, and those little rounded edges kind of tell me what to do so that I can go back in the other direction. Now I'm squiggling out these wavy lines horizontally, but of course I can do them vertically as well, just up and down. And while I am drawing this out, I'm just using an electronic sketch pad, but you can use paper or a notebook. And I'm not trying to match up any of the bumps or wiggles. I'm just kind of letting this one go more random and organic. And I can switch lines and directions as much as I want to. Just like I showed you in my sketched out quilting plan, I'm randomly stitching out bumpy lines from side to side and wiggling as I do that to make the bumps. So to make them more wiggly, I'm just going to add more movement as I stitch, and if I want them to be less wiggly, I can just move it a little bit less. So I'm not trying to line up my bumps precisely, and I'm also not trying to make my lines evenly spaced. This kind of stitching is just organic, irregular, imperfect. You can really see the hand of the maker in your quilting. It's not computerized perfection. So if you get bored, you can switch the directions of your wiggly lines. So I love to do them horizontally a lot, but a lot of times I like to mix them up and stitch them up and down instead, or even combine both horizontal and vertical lines in the same quilt for variety. Hopefully, as you watch these videos, you'll kind of get the idea that it's really up to you to change these things up and just make them more interesting with more variation. So depending on how you stitch it, it might look kind of like stipple, but the wavy bumps are quilted in a more organized, methodical pattern in this rounded waves design rather than an all over meander, but you can definitely see how they're related. So if you want to add even more texture to your wavy lines, you can do organic cables, which is where you basically start off drawing the wavy lines, but then you can cross over randomly in one of the lines or all of the lines. It can look like a bit of a hot mess when you're using a contrasting thread, but again, it's all about the texture. This is kind of my modern answer to a more traditional, evenly spaced cable design, but I like to change things up and show the hand of the maker when I'm stitching. Now, just like my other wavy line designs, I can go in any direction I want to, up and down, side to side. I could even do it diagonally if I wanted to. And then I'm just filling in all the spaces. So kind of up and down, they almost look like little number 8s, which is a totally different design. But again, don't overthink it, just enjoy it and just fill in all the spaces however you want to. Now I'm stitching organic cables similarly to how I stitched the rounded waves, just going back and forth in a horizontal direction and adding those little bumpy lines. I could also stitch them vertically, but for this particular pattern, for some reason, it's actually easier for me to stitch this design horizontally from side to side. So I'm crossing over the lines randomly to give it a little extra texture. This is kind of my modern version of a more traditional cable design. Even though it's a little bit more messy, I actually prefer it. I really like this imperfect texture. So when using contrasting thread like what I'm doing, it can look like a little bit of a hot mess. So just remember that when quilting on a real quilt, I would prefer to use a blending thread. It's going to look a lot better. But now I'm going to finish this up and then I'll have another sample in the books. Here's my finished sample where I free motion quilted both designs in the same area. This quilt behind me is called Swanky Spirals, and it's another one of those quilts where I quilted a different free motion texture in each fabric in the quilt. Sometimes I use the same texture and I change it up in a slightly different way, and I repeated many of the designs from my book, 99 Designs. It was a really great way to practice. If you take a look at the pieced backing of this quilt, you can really see where some of the quilting stands out in some of the contrasting fabric. So I really love making quilts where both the front side and the back side are both fun to look at. Now in this next quilt, it's an early version of my ticker tape pattern where I quilted rounded waves in every other rectangle, sort of like making a stair step pattern. A really easy way to add some jazz to your quilts is to pick two different free motion quilting designs and quilt them each on every other row or every other block in your quilt. I also quilted organic cables in one of the quilts in my book, Piece and Quilts with Pre-Cuts. That quilt is called Windows, which I made to showcase some really fun fabrics. Now, because I quilted the lines back and forth in a small area, it was definitely easier to do this free motion, so I didn't have to turn the quilt very much. I really think it would be fun to combine rounded waves and organic cables in the same quilt, and that's next up on my bucket list to do. But no matter how you mix and match these designs, have fun with it, and just remember, practice makes progress.